So how many times? How many times have you felt not good enough? How many times have you felt, oh, I'm just me, I can't do anything, or you felt ill-equipped to do anything? Notice I didn't say, have you ever felt this way? Because we've all felt it, whether it's getting a new job, having a baby, in a new relationship, starting a business, whatever it may be, starting a ministry. We've all been there at some point in time, and it's all about beginnings, and beginnings are hard, and it's all about change, and change is really hard, especially if you're going out of your comfort zone. I mean, that's never never a fun transition or a start, and it's scary, and that scary is not even the word. As many times as I've had to start over in some way, shape, or form, there's always that fear that comes over me, and I get anxiety, and the what ifs start happening, and it just goes from there. But we pack ourselves down with this fear and anxiety and doubts, and before we've even taken the first step, we have already defeated ourselves. And we're going to talk about some things to try to keep that from happening. But in this world that we're living in, that's what it's built around. It's built around status. It's how many likes that you get, and comments, and how many views on videos, and even in public is comparing yourselves to what people are wearing, or the cars that they're driving, or the houses that they live in. I mean, there's always that sense of competition, and it's not supposed to be that way. You're just supposed to be the best you that you can be. We are all made differently, and purposely we are made differently. You know, the Bible states that we are all members of one body. Well, you can't all be a hand, you can't all be a foot, you can't all be the head. I mean, we all are members of the same body. So looking at magazines, if I'm not dating myself and making myself anxious, I mean, they have the polls for the best dressed, the best looking man. You have 10 ways to improve your love life, 5 ways to be a better parent. Whatever it may be, the world is telling you that you aren't good enough. But the bad part is, we don't just read this stuff, we buy into it. You begin with a thought, and that thought's going to grow, and it's going to grow until one thought becomes planted in your mind that you are and will never be good enough. Then the opportunity comes along, and before you, again, take that step, you begin saying to yourself, I don't have this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do in such and such. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have the abilities. I don't know the right people. I don't know where to go. I don't. And the more that you say those I don'ts, you are slowly taking yourself, well, I don't even say slowly, you are pushing yourself out of whatever that opportunity is. And unfortunately, when that happens, those opportunities may not come back. No matter how hard you try, you fight, you apologize, whatever it may be, to get back in those opportunities. Because sometimes once it's gone for good. So like with Moses in Exodus 3:11, Moses said unto God, who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? Moses was already talking himself out of it. God told him what he was to do. And Moses said, who am I? What am I to do? When you say that, or when he said that, he says, I don't have authority. I'm not known for anything. I'm not good for anything. I'm not worthy to deliver your message. And then some of these thoughts that we have, whenever I'm reading the story in the Bible, I like to think deeper into the character and the situation and compare to my life, or compare to today's time, because these aren't fictional characters. These aren't people that are just in a story to be in a story. These are real people that did real things, and they were human. They had the same thoughts and feelings and fears that we have. And Moses is the same way. He had doubts, he had anxiety, he had fear, he had a low self-esteem, just like we do today. But all these people did great things for God, and they are memorable and important people in the times that's past. But they are no different than you and me. Moses finally agrees to go. And in Exodus 4:10, he says, I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. Now, most people interpret this as in he may have had a speech impediment. He may have had a stutter. Some believe that he just didn't have he himself didn't think that he had great speaking skills, that he was not a great leader. I guess standing up at a pulpit and speaking, he didn't feel he had that type of quality. And probably with him wandering for 40 years, he didn't speak to anybody. So, I can kind of see that as well. But not a way of being able to get anybody's attention, especially Pharaoh. So whatever it was, he was already keeping himself from getting into whatever God had him for. He was already coming up with reasons not to do what God had him ready to do, what he had chosen him for. At any time, did God ask Moses, how do you feel about this? What are your thoughts? Do you think you can do this? No. God knew what Moses had in him. God knew his faults. God knew his fears, his anxiety. But God knew what had to be done, and God knew what he needed to be done. And so he chose Moses because he knew what he had inside. Moses was the one that was doubting himself, that was looking at his own faults. God didn't look at his faults. He knew them, but he didn't look at them. We're all going to have faults, and we're all going to have those fears. God knows that beforehand. He knew us before we were born. Before you say the words that come out of your mouth, he knows them. Before you say, God, I can't, and you give your list of reasons, God already knows that. But he already told you beforehand what he wanted you to do because he knew what was inside of you. He knew what could be done. It is hard to build that faith in ourselves when we have torn ourselves down so many times. And the problem is, when you've torn yourself down so many times, it takes so much healing and so much time to build yourself back up. Take just one moment, pause this video and think. And I want you to ask yourself, what do you think God sees in you? What does God think of you? And has he called you to do something and asked you whatever you thought of whatever he's asked you? And when you come back, I bet it's going to be nothing but good things that he thinks of you, that he sees in you. Your mind is going to try to say else. I'm not good enough. I don't see how he can like me this way or love me this way. Because again, you're of the world, and when you're in the world, that's the things. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You don't look good enough. You're not pretty enough. You don't dress right. You don't have enough money. You don't have the right you don't have the right spouse. You don't, whatever it may be. There was a time in my life, and like from elementary school age until probably my early 30s, I had no self-esteem. Not low self-esteem, no self-esteem. I had people who repeatedly and constantly told me that no one loved me, nobody wanted me, I would never be pretty, I'd be prettier if I lost weight, I'd be prettier if I quit biting my fingernails, I'd be prettier if I wore my hair a certain way. And these were supposed to be people who loved me. I bought into it. I believed it. Now, granted, most of that was I was a child. And so it was already in me. And then when people added to it, it just grew and grew and grew. But once I was again in my early 30s, I looked at myself in the mirror and I made myself name things that I liked or loved about myself. Now, this took me a long time. It took me a long time to come up with things. There was a lot of days that I could only find about one or two things because I didn't love myself. I had torn myself down so much. I let other people tear me down. Until finally, one by one, or little by little, I started getting more and more things, and I started building up, and I would get that. And then one day I was like, oh, I'm in this beautiful outfit, and my hair is just perfect, and I'm looking nice, I'm looking good. And, you know, that moment that I have got it, and there's nobody gonna take it away from me. And I'm like, I'm gonna post this on Facebook and let this be my profile pic. And just in that little bit of time that I took my phone and got on Facebook, those thoughts started coming. Or maybe that outfit isn't that great on me. Oh, maybe my hair isn't parted the right way. Maybe my smile isn't right. Maybe my teeth don't look white enough. And within 30 seconds, all that time that I had built myself up, I tore it all down. A story for another time. I did wind up posting it, and I got a bunch of likes and comments, and saw how much people love me and like me, and it did help build me back up. But maybe in another video, I'll go into more detail. But when God sees you, he sees his child. Somebody he wants to protect, he wants to help, he wants to teach, he wants to help grow, that he loves and he cares for. When he gives you opportunities, he doesn't say go and just figure it out on your own. He has already made provisions, and provisions are supplying what is needed for whatever it may be. Whether it's a new job, if it's of him, then he's already made sure everything you fear is taken into account for. Transportation, daycare, after-school care for the kids, your abilities to retain the knowledge of what you need to learn for your new position. For your business or your ministry, he'll provide funds, the people to help you what you need to grow, to get where you need to be. The relationship that he has worked on, for a relationship, he's already worked on their hearts as much as he's worked on yours. You're going to have that click. You're going to have that chemistry, and it's just going to flow. If it is of God, it will flow. There might be some hiccups here and there. I mean, nothing is going to be perfect. But if it's of God, you're going to know it, because it's just going to flow. It's going to be easy. And he has made sure of this, because this is what he wants, and it's where he wants you. Now look at who you are and what you have to give. A kind heart, a helping spirit, being able to teach, to lead, to speak, to sing, whatever it may be. You have something, and God can use it. I was thinking, with all this devastation in North Carolina, I have felt overwhelmed to want to help, but I'm like, I don't have funds. I can't be there physically. I have to be where I'm at. And I just felt so useless. And I started watching videos of people and started seeing what they were doing. And I saw people with ATVs and chainsaws that were literally going in these back roads and cutting things down. I saw these people with mules and horses. And there was one story where a guy had called, and he said, I know of a place that has no access outside. And he went and got a bunch of people and showed up in his own free time with his own money and supplies, and built a road and built a bridge, a concrete bridge, for these people to be able to get out. Those are the type of things God uses, what you already have. These people with 18-wheelers, helicopter people, and then people that did have money. But then there's those of us that can't, and all we can do is pray. And you know what? Sometimes that's all that God wants you to do, is to have a moment to think about someone else, to care about someone else. Before Moses was to go to Pharaoh in Exodus 4:2, God says to Moses, what is in thy hand? And Moses replied, a rod, a staff. Your staff doesn't have to be the best thing, the biggest thing. It doesn't have to be what somebody else has. For me, I feel that God is using me because of my heart, because of my love for others, and because of my desire to want to help, to encourage, and to uplift people, to change people's mind about God, but to change them of themselves, because I have been there. He has given me the empathy for others. So love yourself. Don't let others love you. Be open. Let God in, and you'll experience a love like you've never known. And I never believed it till I felt it. And if you watch my intro video, it'll tell you about all that. You are worthy. You are good enough. Do what you need to do. You have it in your hands right now to make the changes. I love you, and may God bless you. and keep you.